edge pieces. Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Return Homestead. My name is Mike and my wife Marty and I homestead 50 acres in southeastern Kentucky. Today we're kind of locked down inside. There's nothing but snow and ice on the outside. We've been locked down for almost 2 weeks now. It has been snowing and sleeting and icing every other day. We've got still about 8 inches of snow packed on the ground out here. Gotten out today, we've taken care of the chickens, made sure they got out, got fed and got watered, and now we're just looking to fill some time really. We've done all that we can here in the remodel, so today we're going to take a moment to look back on what we did in 2024, see how we succeeded according to the goals that we set for ourselves, and also lay in plans for next year.
Keep in mind that when we set our yearly goals, we know we're not going to finish them all.
In the book of James, the Bible does say that you have not because you ask not, when it talks about prayer. In other words, we should pray for more than what we think we can get. We should ask God for amazing things, and that's really the only way you get amazing things. So He needs to know what it is that we're looking for and what we would like to see in our lives, and from that He will provide for us the things that we need to make us safe, secure, and happy, and that's what we count and depend on.
So we overshoot our goals knowing that we're going to move those things to the top of the next year's list, adding to the bottom. I like to have things to work on, and so if I have a full slate, I'm happy.
Yeah, there's always got to be something more to do. If you've only got the one task in front of you and the one deadline to work on, it's easy to stop when you hit that deadline. So we make sure there's plenty of deadlines to move on to after that one's done. If you'll stick around to the end of the video, I'll give you some really good advice for why you want to have your schedule overloaded this way. There is actually a good reason for it. I'll explain when we get to the end of the video.
While we're doing this, we're going to work a puzzle because there's not much we can work on. We need to get supplies down here, and there's about, what's the elevation change between the two houses?
Oh, it's 25, 30 feet elevation change.
And it's all ice, so it's very difficult to navigate between the two houses.
So we were willing to get moved down here so that we could save ourselves that trip up and down the hill trying to get tools and resources down to the work site, and then also get ourselves back up at the end of the day. And now we can work right up until the time where we just say, that's it, I can't do any more today, and then we can call it quits and just have dinner and go to bed. We don't have to make a trek up to the top of the property.
So we ended up going down to the Amish bulk store, place we love to go. We're trying to shop locally. That's one of our goals this year, is to shop locally. We want to leave the money in our community. We don't want to put it in the big box stores. Now, we do have a lot of options for shopping, cabinetry, and so on and so forth in local communities because of the big Amish Mennonite communities we have around us. We have access to products that most people wouldn't have, especially when we were out in the desert. They just weren't there. You had to use big box.
So while Marty and I get these puzzle pieces sorted out, we're going to kind of have a quick review on the projects that we said we wanted to get done in 2024 and give you a rundown on just how successful we were. And as I go through this list, y'all don't be too excited about the fact that we didn't do most of these things. Again, that's part of the plan. I'll explain in a little bit. Our biggest and most important objective for the year was to get this remodel finished. And that should include having all the appliances here and hooked up, having a full kitchen, and also having a wood stove in place. Those things didn't happen. We did get the bedroom finished. We've got a fully finished master suite in there, and we're very comfortable with the bedroom. The living room is set up well enough that we can sit and relax and watch YouTube at the end of the day. So we're happy about that. The kitchen's still in pieces. We still haven't put in any cabinetry. We don't have anything other than a refrigerator for appliances. So we've got a lot of room for growth here in the kitchen. But we can make meals, and has that been too hard?
It's not totally comfortable, but it's better than when we were in the depot.
Yeah.
We were living in one room in the depot. We had a microwave. That was it.
Yeah.
And so it was a bit difficult then. And the house had no heat. And it was 3 degrees outside. And
Yeah,
it was
that
a very old house, had no insulation, no heat. It was an old train depot. This one has great insulation, great heat, which is why we're here. This winter, I'm sure you know, has been bizarre.
It really
A foot of
has.
snow downtown New Orleans, really? Or on the beach in Florida. That's crazy.
Right?
But so that's why we made the move we did.
We didn't get the house finished. No, we didn't. But we did get moved into the house, and that was really the objective. And we got moved in before the snow locked us out. So we're kind of prevented from moving more items down from the other house. Now we did yesterday because we weren't set up perfectly in the living room down here. There was a large ottoman in the other house, and when I say large, it's as wide as a queen size bed. It's a big ottoman. And we decided we were going to move it down yesterday, regardless of the snow and ice. And buddy, let me tell you, you put a mattress bag around an ottoman that size and you put it out on the snow, it just slides right down the hill. It was not that difficult to move. It was actually an advantage. So I'm glad we moved that yesterday in the snow instead of waiting until it was a bunch of mud to try to make the move. So it hasn't been all bad. We did get moved in. So this part of the project, I'd give us a 50%. It was about a half success.
Basically, what we have left to do is cosmetic. The first day you move in, things go up on the wall. It doesn't matter if there's any furniture in there. If I have things on the wall, it feels like home. So there's been decorations put up and everything else. The one thing we're missing is my washer and dryer. And it's so frozen underneath the house, we can't get under there right now because we have that drainage issue that you might have seen on one of our other videos that keeps us from going in until we get that taken care of.
Yeah, we've got to stop the drainage problem. Right now we've got a sheet of ice right behind the house, and it is preventing me from being able to remove the panels that would allow me to get underneath the house. So there's no getting under there to do the plumbing we need to do for the dryer. That's a project that's coming up here shortly. We'll make a video about that. I'm going to plumb the dryer in. We're going to plumb it in correctly using sheet metal. We're not going to use those flex tubes. If y'all don't know this, the dryer is probably the most dangerous appliance you have in your house. All of that lint that it creates is highly flammable, and allowing that to collect in some sort of a ribbed pipe on the inside, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So we're going to put in a proper sheet metal plumbed dryer vent, so we'll be able to vent that dryer, and then we'll be able to get the dryer and washing machine moved down here. So Marty's laundry will be back down here. Right now, that means I've got to carry the laundry up with me when I go to feed chickens and do the laundry while I'm feeding the chickens and taking care of things up top.
While trying not to slide down the stairs.
Right. Yeah, that's been fun trying to keep the ice off of the stairs in the last few days. It is the only staircase we have to get up the hill, so it requires pretty much continuous attention if it's snowing. Every few hours I've got to go out and do some work on the staircase. So that's our living situation. We are living in the house, but we do still have a lot of work yet to go, so watch for those videos. They're going to be coming more this year. We did a lot of work out in the garden. You had a lot of expectations on herbs this year. How did you do with that?
My one goal was to up my herbs, so I did. We started a lot of herbs that I hadn't grown before, like fennel, clary sage, tulsi, holy basil. If you haven't tried that, it's super sweet. It's super
really
good.
nice.
It's totally different from regular basil. I also had several different kinds of dills, and I use those for canning.
Well, we moved some of the Monarda. We also moved the strawberries. That was one of our other goals, was to take apart that tiered garden that was here on the property when we got here. We didn't get the tiers taken apart this year, so that was a fail. We didn't get to that project. But we did get all the strawberries moved out of those beds, at least the ones we wanted to save. And we've also moved all of the herbs that we had down there. So at least that portion of it got done. And we've been doing a lot of research over the last year trying to figure out the whole herb situation. It's difficult to get good information about herbs, mainly because, well, mainstream information people want to make sure that you don't find out anything about herbs because they don't want you treating your own problems. So So we've got to go digging around and looking for the information. There's lots of good books out there. If you're looking for a book yourself on how to handle herbs and what to do with them to help heal yourself, Nicole Appelian has just released a new book that is excellent for that purpose. So that's our herbs. We've stepped up our game quite a bit, still growing and expanding our herb garden as well as our knowledge of what to do with those herbs. They're not just there to spice up your food, they actually are medicine. And that's what God's provided for us, so we want to learn how to use them effectively. We also talked about American breast chickens at the beginning of last year. It was something we were very excited about. The breed sounds absolutely awesome, but after thinking about it and after considering what the consequences would be, we decided we wanted a more genetically diverse flock. And we say that because there's this infection that's running around right now that's scaring everybody, and while we're not afraid of this virus, we want to make sure that we have the best possible chance of having our chickens survive should they get ill. If you have a monoculture of chickens, if all of your chickens are the same breed and one of them gets sick, you can rest assured the rest of them are probably going to get sick. If it's as bad as it is in a commercial growing house, where not only is it all the same breed of chicken, but it is technically the same chicken a million times, those things are cloned, guys, so it's exactly the same chicken. They have all the same genetics. If one of those gets ill, yeah, every single one of the chickens in that house is going to get ill. That's why they've been burning the houses down when one gets sick. We don't want that problem here in our flock, so we are going to have a diverse genetic collection. We're going to make sure that we have a backyard flock, just a group of chickens that are doing their chicken thing and producing not a specific breed of chicken, but simply more chickens that will lay more eggs. And that's good enough for us on a homestead.
Plus, we're not all that fond of chicken meat. We like the eggs, but we're not all that fond of chicken. We like pork and beef better. So there was no reason to raise a bunch of chickens for meat.
And we're pretty happy with our current flock. We've got, I don't know, probably 55, 60 birds out there counting the silkies. So we've got plenty of chickens out there. They're laying anywhere from 6 to 9 eggs a day right now. We did have an issue right at the beginning of the winter where the chickens shut down. That was my fault. I have a local grain mill that I like to go to get their feed, and they were not available one day when I needed to buy feed because I had forgotten. And I ended up having to go down to Tractor Supply. And when you go to Tractor Supply, you have to buy one of the big box feeds. Y'all look at the bags of feed that you buy. Look closely to see who produces them. There are probably 15 different brands that are available at Tractor Supply for feeding chickens. Okay, I'm exaggerating. There's 5 or 6. But they're all coming from one source. All of that feed is made by Purina. There is no other feed in Tractor Supply. Purina is the only maker of feed that goes into Tractor Supply, at least for the chickens.
Well, at least here.
Yeah, at least here. I haven't seen any other brands. And every time that we have attempted to use a Purina feed, our chickens stop laying. So we're not going to be touching that stuff anymore. I think I'll let the chickens go hungry if I can't get them feed for some reason for a day or two.
This is going to be a very difficult puzzle.
This is going to take a while. These pieces don't make any sense.
This is a corner piece. It has hardly any corners on it. One little piece here.
I saw one that's actually a middle piece that had a long straight edge on it.
This
So it's going to be really difficult.
So the lady that tagged me in the store, she's right. This is going to put me to the test.
So that was our chicken experience for the year. We didn't do the American breast, but that was because we changed our mind on the American breast. The other thing we wanted to do for the chickens and for us was to start getting our water catchment in place. We're just confused by the fact that in this day and age, when water still falls from the sky like it always has, we ignore it and we wait until it's been processed and soaked in chemicals, and when it's got loads of chlorine and chloramide and all sorts of other nastiness, in it,
Which
then they
we
stick
filter out.
fluoride in it and then pump it through the pipes where it picks up all kinds of other contaminants and sediment before it gets to our house. And we're just tired of having dirty water. Sorry, folks, municipal water, it ain't all it's cracked up to be.
Well, we have filters at both houses, and we do filter it the best we can, but it would be better to have clean water.
Yeah, we'll still probably use a reverse osmosis filter even on our water catchment just because we want to have our drinking water be as clean as possible. Here currently, because we don't have a full kitchen set up, we didn't set up the reverse osmosis. So we're even bringing our drinking water down from the other house because that RO is up and running. So we want to get our own water catchment in so that we can provide water not only to our house but to our animals. And part of the plan this year was to get water catchment into the chickens so that they would be able to water themselves. We wouldn't have to go out and take them water every day.
Which is now freezing up.
Which is now freezing up. So
halfway through the day.
we're hopeful that we can actually get the chickens moved. We didn't do the water catchment simply because we had planned on leaving them where they're at, and then we changed our mind. We don't like where the chickens are right now. They're exposed, meaning they are visible from the road. And we'd rather have those chickens someplace where we're the only ones that know they're there. The easiest way to do that is to move their coop into the barn. I've got a bay in the barn that's not really used for anything. It's right in the middle of the barn, so they'll get the best insulation possible from the barn itself. And all I've got to do is take some plywood and build some walls around that bay so that I can isolate it from the rest of the barn. I don't want the chickens just running loose in the barn. They make way too much dust. I have a lot of tools and I do a lot of work up in the barn, so I don't want that dust in there. So we got to seal them up inside of a room and then give them access to the outside. And they'll be exiting on the back side of the barn. Nobody will be able to see them, and they'll be in their yard, which will be below the barn. So a nice protected space for the chickens. And we'll get those guys moved in 2025. So that's the new plan there.
All but the silkies.
All but the silkies. So the silkies we're actually going to move down to the end of this house. We're going to put in a small coop down here. They're really decorative chickens. Yes, they lay eggs, but that's not why we got them. Yeah, they've still been laying. We get at least one egg from them every day. But they're really more decorative. They're there because my wife enjoys seeing the silkies. So we're going to put them down here where she can keep an eye on them.
They're friendly.
And we can let them out in her garden. So we'll be able to let them do a little bug control for us there in the garden.
Plus, they're not aggressive. I do have one rooster in there that is aggressive. And when he gets out of hand, I pick him up and we go on a walkabout and I tell him how cow eats the cabbage. But they're so easy to handle. They're perfect for kids. If you have kids and you want them to be able to handle chickens, silkies are the ones because they are that sweet.
So we're doing good on the chickens. Yes, we had a plan moving into the year that we didn't quite accomplish, but we've changed our mind about a lot of it, so we're doing good. Water catchment is still to come. It will happen after we get the chickens moved to the barn, and we'll be able to do water catchment probably in 2026. I don't see us having the resources or the time to get to that in 25. The terrace garden we've already talked about. We've gotten the strawberries and herbs moved out of there. We still need to get that pulled apart. There was a plan this year to cut at least 4 cords of wood. And we came to that number based on the amount of wood we burned last year to stay warm in that upper house. And our plan was to lay in another 4 cords of wood for this year. We got, half a cord?
Not much.
Not much. No, not really even half a cord cut. We just didn't set aside the time for it. The right time to take care of that would have been in June, and we were in full force rolling on this house, and this was our priority. So we never got around to cutting any wood down. We really don't have any firewood for this year, so I'm praying that the power stays on. We've got enough wood that we could get through an emergency if we needed to, but weather like this is not the ideal time to take a chainsaw out, so I'd rather not have to deal with that.
Well, you couldn't keep your footing.
No, there'd be no way on that hillside to even stand on it. So we didn't do the wood, but that was by choice. We had other projects that we needed to work on, and we've accommodated ourselves well for the winter without needing the wood. But next year we want to have the wood laid in, and we'd like to have our fireplace or wood stove up and running in this house. We're also going to put in a wood shed, but since we didn't cut any wood, there was no need for the wood shed. That didn't get built either. We wanted to remove trees from the front of the house, and we did take down quite a few.
Yes,
didn't we?
we did. It's still not open.
It's still not open.
And we have a couple of trees that actually threaten the house, especially the oak up on the hill where the goats used to be. So that one, there's no way to get a bucket truck in here. It has to be climbed. And we do have companies here that will climb to pull those down. So that's going to have to be moved up to the top of the list. Because if it blows over, it's taking out my brand new bathroom.
Y'all, I did not grow up with a chainsaw in my hand. I learned how to use a chainsaw out in Nevada when we got our first property out there and really started homesteading. And there weren't a lot of trees on that property. So most of the chainsaw experience I have has come here in Kentucky. And it's an unsafe thing to do without experience. But of course, the only way to get experience is to do it. If you decide you need to get out a chainsaw to take down a tree, please put on all of your safety gear. Make sure you've got a spotter. Do it safely and smartly. Even so, it's still dangerous, so be forewarned. So we've still got quite a few trees that we need to take down in front of the house, so we're just moving those forward to 2025. It's a project that could happen in 25. It could happen in 26. It's just on the books. It's something we're working toward. Let's see, we wanted to take down trees at the lake as well, and that also is a work in progress, right?
Yes, we did get a lot down.
Yeah.
There's a peninsula in between the lower and upper road that I want to clear, mainly to, number one, put light on the lake, because it's getting hardly any light now because of some of the trees there are 50 feet plus. Those have got to come down. We still haven't decided if we're going to start working on the cabin down there or moving it, because again, trees are threatening it. The other thing is the trees were on the dam, and roots on a dam aren't good. It's going to cause it to breach eventually. So we did get a lot of that cut down. In fact, you can see the creek rolling by the lake as you're sitting there now, and we couldn't see that last year.
So we got a lot of that taken down, but y'all saw on the video when I went down there during the ice storm, the lake is frozen, and that's primarily because it just doesn't get enough sunlight, especially in the wintertime. The sun never really clears the tops of the trees, and the lake stays in the shade. So we want to correct that. We also want to make that a kind of a vacation spot. I mean, we're very serious about the return to life portion of our mission here. We want to encourage you to return to the land, return to labor, and return to life. Returning to life means you've got to stop. You've got to take time to smell the roses. Now, it's important to remember that that instruction is given to the gardener, the one who grew the roses. It's not meant for just the average person who's skylarking to run by and take a sniff of the roses. It's for the gardener. After you've put in the time and the effort and the work, then take the time to enjoy it. And that's what the lake is all about for us. And so we want to spend a lot more time down there this year, especially during the summer. We're going to make sure we keep it usable. That means putting additional work in down there to keep the grass cut, the weeds cut back, and start taking the trees out of our way so we can appreciate and enjoy it better. But that will also mean if we put that effort in, the lake's there and it's ready. If we have a 30-minute window and we want to run down and just spend 30 minutes throwing a lure through the lake, we can. So we're going to spend a lot more time in the upcoming year. We didn't get as much done down there as we would have liked to this year. We were also planning on fencing the upper property.
Yeah, we have dogs that run in packs around us. They threaten the chickens, which are up there now, which is another reason why we want to get them in a better place.
Yeah, we've had no problems with our neighbors. They're just good folks that have been here, most of them, most of their lives. They've lived up in this holler, up on this ridge. So I've been very pleased. They've been very respectful and very welcoming. We haven't had any problems from the neighbors, but the dogs are a different story. The dogs run through the property willy-nilly. We have no idea when they're going to suddenly pop up out of the bushes and go running across the property. So we want to make sure that stops. The only way to do that is fencing. Strong fences make good neighbors, so we're going to put some fencing up. And we had planned to do that on the upper portion of the property this year. Again, we were just too busy with the remodel, and all of our money was being sunk into the resources we need for this. We didn't have the additional resources to go spend on fencing, and we didn't have the time to put it up anyway. So that's coming again in 25. It just didn't make it in 24. But we are also planning, while we're working on the fence for the upper property, we're going to convert the garden up there as well.
I'm excited about that. A lot of people plant, like you've seen us, if you watched our tomato videos, we had over 300 tomato plants one year. It did tomatoes. I like planting that way because I can can tomatoes 1 year and I don't need to do them the following year. But what happens is if you get blight on one plant, it wipes out the whole row.
The whole row.
Or if you get Colorado potato beetles on one plant, it wipes out the whole field that you have your potatoes in. So we're going to go to more of a food forest kind of idea. We did start moving comfrey from the front yard to the backyard around all of our trees. I've started planting calendula and sage and monarda or bee balm around all of the trees up there. And we're going to try to do, there is a YouTuber, Hugh Richards, I believe is his name.
Yep.
And he puts a lot of plants in different areas. So if you wipe out one area of tomatoes, you've got an empty row. It's not a pretty thing. But if you put tomatoes here, there, and everywhere, and one plant gets disease, you pull it up and pop in a new plant, whatever you want to plant. And so we're going to go to a less structured planting for our vegetables and herbs and more to a food forest structure, or non-structure in this case. And I'm excited to see how that's going to turn out. So a lot of people go with companion planting. You don't need it for this. You can plant borage next to tomatoes to help with your tomatoes, or you can just plant borage throughout your garden. This is a new thing we're going to try this year. You'll have to stick with us to see how it works. It should be fun.
Even Hugh was saying that this year he is shifting a lot of his garden more towards perennials. Now, perennials are the plants that will come back year after year in the same spot. So you only have to plant them once and then manage and maintain them, and they give you food every single year. If you can get a garden full of those types of plants, there's very little work to get your garden started or to finish your garden at the end of the year. All you're doing is managing and maintaining until you get to harvest time.
Like asparagus, horseradish,
Yep.
rhubarb, blackberries, raspberries. So all of those are perennials and they do well. Now currently we do have our blackberries in rows, which is fine for that sort of thing because it makes it easier to pick and trellis. This will be fun. It'll be a fun little experiment. You'll have to hang with us and see if we are successful.
It's really kind of an exciting idea. I mean, we were introduced to it. I think the first guy we saw doing it was James Pigioni out in New Jersey. And he literally intends on growing a food forest. And in his backyard, he has that. He's got all of these huge perennial plants, most of them trees and bushes that provide food every single year. And then he plants his annuals in and around. And he'll have a couple of raised beds where he may do some lettuces or a squash. And we're always going to have the need to do green beans or black-eyed peas. Those need to be done in rows, but we don't want them in our primary garden. We want that primary garden to remain perennial so that it comes back every single year the way it wants to, not the way that we try to dictate every year. So we're trying to move away from the plowing up a row, planting everything in a single row, hoeing out the weeds all summer long to get a quick harvest before the plants are killed by whatever blight or infection comes along. We're going to try to shift more to a more natural format, which would be a perennial food forest with annual plants that we're growing underneath that or in raised beds somewhere else. So that's our garden plans, or at least what we did last year and some of our plans for next year. So we didn't get everything done we intended to in the garden, but we had a plan and we worked some of it. We got a great harvest. Part of that growing was also to begin fermenting some of those foods. We had a plan to try to preserve as much of the harvest as we could. Marty made a commitment to the Lord that whatever He provided, she would preserve. And the easiest way to preserve food is to essentially make it go bad first. You got to ferment it. Fermented foods will last a long time on the shelf. Plus, they're full of all the probiotics and prebiotics that everybody else is trying to produce and shove into food from a factory. You can make it naturally right there on your countertop. All you need is the food, some salt, and a little bit of time to let it ferment. How did you do this year?
Great. It was a success. I had ferments all over the kitchen, but I have a problem with lectins, and lectins are in peppers. And if you've watched any of our videos, I spice the snot out of everything.
She does.
So I put hot sauce on absolutely everything. How many did I want to do in hot sauce?
You said you wanted to do 52 pints?
52. What did I end up with?
145 pints.
It was a win. So I've got enough hot sauce to last me through all of next year.
Yeah.
Does that mean I'm not going to grow peppers this year? Oh no, it doesn't mean that, because now I'm out of cowboy candy. So next year I'm going to do a bunch of jalapenos, Tabasco peppers, things like that. But again, we're going to plant them throughout the hill. We're not going to put them in rows. Yeah, I did good on my ferments.
If you haven't fermented the peppers yet, give that a try. It is fantastic. Beyond the peppers, there was a lot of food put away.
Oh yeah.
210 pints and 234 quarts of food. And that'll get us through till when?
Till the harvest.
So that's going to get us till next harvest.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all, that's pretty amazing as far as I'm concerned. If you can go out and spend as little time as we did gardening this year, because we were focused on this remodel, this is where all of our time went, and yet we were able to put away 210 pints and 234 quarts of food to get us through the winter. That's exciting. That is money we don't have to spend down at the grocery store. And if you're watching the price of groceries right now, you know how valuable that is. So we're going to continue with that in the next year. That was a big success, even with as ugly as our garden got towards the end of the season and as little time as we spent in there, it was a big success.
The other thing that we need to do this year, in keeping a tally or inventory of what you've got canned, our failure is on fruit. We've got new trees, so we lost an apple tree, as you might have seen in one of our other videos, but our apples are real hard to produce here because they get apple cedar rust. Yeah. So we haven't gotten a good harvest 3 years we've been here. In Nevada, we had 4 trees, and I got wheelbarrows full. So we had to actually go buy apples this year from the Mennonites in order to get his apple pie jam, and there's a video on that, apple sauce, and apple butter. So we need more apple trees. We've got a couple of peach trees, but they're young. They haven't produced yet. We have a pear tree. I think we've gotten 1 pear off of it. And we want to get raspberries going. So we got tons of blackberries. We got some strawberries. So we want to up our fruit this year because that's where we lack. I have very few jellies and jams, and this guy loves them.
I do, man. That apple pie jam is just awesome, and I love the other fruit jams that she's made as well. They're all delicious. It's not like anything you can buy in the store. Trust me, there is no way for a factory to produce the jar full of love that my wife does. But we need fruit to do that, and we really don't have enough fruit trees on the property yet. We'll definitely need to add some more this year. But we also this year discovered the Amish auctions for the first time. So we did go to an Amish auction. We've seen how that operates. So we can make plans to attend the auction next year to purchase any of the, apples, peaches, pears, whatever fruit that we want to get that we weren't able to produce on the homestead ourselves. So we're still going to need to supplement in a lot of areas for our food, but we want to try to shift away from doing those in a big box store and shift back to buying directly from a farmer. At an Amish auction, you are buying Amish
Bulk.
produce in bulk that was grown in the area surrounding that auction house. So you're getting good local produce from a local farmer at a reasonable price, and I don't know how you can beat that.
This sucker is going to be hard.
This is not going to be an easy puzzle, I can tell that.
I've never worked one like this. This is going to be a challenge.
And you know, the only other thing that we said we definitely wanted to make sure we did next year I'm not sure, or this year I'm not sure we did very well on was getting you in the studio more.
Yeah. That didn't happen. I was in the studio somewhat, but, and he even put an air conditioner in there for me. The problem is I get distracted very easy when I look out into my garden, which is my passion, and I see that it's full of weeds. And I see that the slugs are in my cabbage, which, by the way, I don't need to plant this year because I've got so much sauerkraut and coleslaw. I go out and I start working in that, and by the time I'm done and it's 100 degrees outside and it's 80% humidity, I'm shot. And in order for me to concentrate on painting and so on, that's a morning thing for me. I like to go out and do that. So I did finish a couple of canvases. I have hung them. I painted them for our room here. I want to do a lot more. So a couple brought me 10 short. So
yeah. And it's not like she's not using her skills or talents as an artist, because she did do the 3 canvases. You refinished that jewelry cabinet. That's hanging in the bedroom now. That's a beautiful piece. You made at least 1 skirt, so you had your sewing machine back up and running again. And multiple decorative projects here around the house.
Towel racks
and shelving made out of old shutters.
Yes.
You had our coat rack that we put at the back door. Mm-hmm. All of that is a part of her design and artistic ability, and it helps, but we really want to get her time in the studio.
Painting.
Her best time artistically is standing at an easel painting. So we definitely did not accomplish that this year, but that was, again, another work in progress. So that brings us to 2025. What do we want to do for this year?
We want to continue working on those projects. So we said we were going to put a porch on the studio because it leaks when the rain blows. Why it leaks, we don't know. We have done everything to try to stop the leaking, but there's a little corner of that area, and I want to put flooring in there. Can't put it in until we identify the leak or make the leak go away. And the patio with a roof, plus the barn quilt that I painted, which will go on the front of my studio, will take care of that. Even a screen door or a storm door. So we've got to get that patio done.
Yeah.
So that I can finish my studio and make it my own little space.
And it was a good lesson for us to learn as well. If you're doing a construction project on a shed or an outside building and you buy a man door to put into that building, if you don't spend an inordinate amount of money to get one that's designed to seal completely against water penetration, if you just get like a standard front door for a house and you install that, you're going to end up with leak problems. And that's exactly what happened to us. Those doors for a standard house are designed to have some sort of covering over the top of the door. There's supposed to be some way to keep the water from getting onto the door. If the door gets wet, water's going to get under. And that's what's been happening to us. So we got to get that fixed. We got to get that porch put on Marty's studio. We need to finish this remodel. We're in the house, but it's not finished yet. I'd like to see it completed. Yeah.
We're very close. We're very close. We've got to set the kitchen. We have a guest bath that needs trim, toilet, and vanity.
Yeah. Fireplace, appliances, and then just the trim and finish.
Yes.
It's not much.
Yes. So everything else is done. It's light fixtures.
Light fixtures.
But
that's all finished work. It's just simple stuff. We'll get that finished up this year. The upper garden, we've already talked about. We're going to convert that into more of a food forest. So we're going to go with the perennials up there. Definitely get more of the fruit trees and the berries going. We want to fence the upper property still. That's an ongoing project. We haven't given up on it. So hopefully we'll be able to get some fencing pulled this year. But mostly we want to establish a hedgerow. The fencing is there as a block to prevent the dogs and other animals from coming in. But we want to cover that border so that our neighbors don't even know we're back here. The entire purpose of the hedgerow would be to block us off and shield us not only from the animals but from the neighbors. It also provides a nice windbreak for our perennial garden that will be up behind that hedgerow. So we want to get all of that established this year with some fencing in the hedgerow. We definitely want to develop the lake this year.
Yes, that's a big one for us. So we committed about halfway through the year to at least make it down there on Saturdays. Mike usually gets off a little early on Saturdays and we head down, and it's not an easy walk. We have a huge canyon in front of our house. And it is the one road that is mostly level and you don't have to cross the creeks, which we have 2 creek crossings. It got tore up pretty bad the first year we were here. We had horrible rain. And we have to get out there and fix that walkway. Now, getting down there, you need a 4-wheeler.
Yeah.
It's not an easy walk. So we did get down there every Saturday. I think we only missed 1 or 2.
1 or 2, yeah.
And sat around the lake just chatting and just enjoying watching the fish jump. And
it's better than any vacation because we can go down there anytime, and it's just nice down there. So we definitely want to spend a lot more time getting that developed.
So we have a lot of plans for that. Will we finish it next year? No. We're not.
That's going to be a work in
because
progress.
we want to build a structure so that we could stay down there. So either redo the cabin that's down there or build something that we could stay down there and just disappear for the weekend. It'd be great. It's quiet down there. It's all walled. If you've watched that video, it's completely walled off. So there are cliffs all the way around. So we want to put more time down at the lake next year.
Definitely.
I'm praying that we're not working on this remodel. We've been remodeling you guys for over 8 years.
Over 8 years, yeah.
So we did the depot, and it turned out gorgeous, and it was a good investment. And someday we may show before and afters of what we accomplished there. But we, more than doubled, almost tripled
the value of the home.
value of the home on that. It sold in one day, first person. And so we want to get this done. I'm tired of remodeling. I'm done.
And then one of the other things we needed to do for the garden, not only are we putting in the perennials up top, but we want to still do annuals, but we want to do container and raised beds for the annuals.
So, so we're going to do a lot of container garden, hopefully taking care of a lot of the weed pressure we currently have. And as you age, bending over, getting on your hands and knees on hills, especially if you're leaning downhill, try not to face plant while you're weeding your tomatoes is a whole new...
That's a whole new experience. So we definitely want to get some raised beds in. We're going to put those in down here around the lower house. We'll also do some more container gardening like Marty was talking about with her rosemary. We were able to move the rosemary up next to the house, and it's still alive, even though it's 5 degrees outside.
Did the feverfew die?
The feverfew did die off.
Oh.
Yeah, it kind of got zapped with this big storm that came through.
Yeah, it was so cold.
So we're definitely going to get those raised beds put in around this house so that we can get all of our lettuces and our annuals grown down here. We're going to get the chickens moved. They're going to get moved into the barn. I just need to build out that one bay, cut a hole in the wall for them to have a door to go in and out, and we'll be able to get them moved. We'll probably build a new coop down here for the silkies. I had thought about possibly disassembling the coops that are up there and moving them down, but I think we want to build something a little bit nicer down here, right?
Something to, well, they're kind of prima donnas.
They are. And this is really, it's my wife's cottage garden. She's done a lot of work out here already to make it beautiful, even before we moved down here. So I don't want to just put a box in like we have up top. I want to build her a decent chicken coop, someplace that she's proud to look at and enjoys looking at.
A walk-in.
To take care of the chickens, a walk-in.
Yeah.
So we're going to get her chicken coop built down here so we can get those silkies moved. So those are our chicken plans for the year. And then the water catchment for the property. I don't think we're going to get to building it this next year, but we definitely need to get it planned. I need to figure out exactly how much we're going to be storing. Where are we going to get the container to hold all of that water? How are we going to filter it? And then, of course, we've got to trench and pull pipe in order to reroute all the water and start taking our water from that catchment.
We have a hard time right now. Unfortunately, I get way too many deliveries. And our big box stores, we do have a local big box store, but we put a lot of miles going back and forth to Lexington here. It's an hour either way. So I want to make sure that we can shop locally. And Mike introduced himself to one of the local hardware guys, and we've been shopping his store. We've been shopping all the Amish bulk stores. There's a new little grocery store that opened up here recently. We're shopping that now. We're not going to the big box stores. I don't like going to the big box stores because you spend your money, it leaves your area and goes to wherever they're located. So we want to start shopping local. We did do some of that last year, but we're going to make a commitment this year. The other thing I want to commit to is limiting the plastic we're bringing into the property. Holy cow. Everything is in plastic. So these things are things we want to take care of to take care of our health. We were watching one of the doctors on YouTube talk about you cannot take care of the plastics in your body currently, but you can mitigate what you're putting in to your body going forward. And he talks about the whole, who was that, Dr. Berry?
Dr. Berry, yeah.
Yeah, it talks about they haven't proven that it passes the brain-blood barrier, blood-brain barrier.
Yep.
But we have got tons of toxins in our body, and it's getting to where if I walk up the hill, my asthma's killing me by then. And I want to get away from all the steroids and stuff they give you for that. So in order to do that, we have to clean up our world. And that means plastics and toxins.
So we're going to try to get rid of all that stuff. Most of it, we should be able to produce what we need right here on the property. I've got 50 acres here. There's plenty of plants growing out there that produce the chemicals that we need to stay healthy. There's really no need to continue to add toxins to our world. So we're going to work on eliminating shopping at big box stores for a lot of reasons. We want to keep our money in the local community. We want to support our local community. We want better quality food and products. We're tired of getting really lame products from China. If we can go next door and buy a replacement from our neighbor instead of going to China to buy some plastic piece of junk that's going to break in a year, I'm much rather going to go and shop at my neighbor, even if I have to spend some more money on it.
We don't mind that. In fact, we probably aren't spending more money on it because we're not making the trip an hour out and an hour back.
And an hour back,
Simple things. You might look at your grated cheese. It's got natamycin in it, which is an antibiotic.
It's an antibiotic. Why do you want to take an antibiotic just because you're eating a pizza? There's no reason for that. There is absolutely no reason to be taking an antibiotic with your pizza, but they stick it in the cheese and they don't tell you about it. It's just in the cheese. So you're stuck with it.
Right. And we can get cheese locally grated, or we can grate our own, and it has no natamycin in it. So we're trying to make ourselves healthy and making sure that we can eliminate the things that are making us sick, and they seriously are making us sick. It's been a while. Well, you had a migraine the other day.
I had a migraine the other day, but they're not like they used to be.
Right.
You know, it's not something that's going to last for a week, which is what my migraines used to do.
So all the chemicals that I currently have, and you'll see in the picture that he'll put up for you, are still up at the other house. They're not here.
We're going to try not to bring them in here. And I think not shopping at big box stores is really the best thing we can do for ourselves to get things cleaned up. Especially because here in Kentucky we have so many Amish and Mennonite vendors. There is opportunity to go out and get everything that you need without ever having to set foot in a big box store. And all of that money stays right here in the local community. It doesn't get sent out to China. So we're going to try to do all of our shopping here in big box store, or out of the big box stores. We're going to try to shop locally. We definitely want to limit our plastics, actually eliminate the plastics from all the products that we're bringing home.
Taking care of the trash bill.
Yeah, taking care of the trash bill. We're spending $85 a quarter to have somebody come and pick up our trash. And do you know what's in that container when I haul it up there?
Plastic.
Plastic. That's all that's in that container. That's all we're throwing away. We're paying $85 a quarter to have somebody haul all the plastic off of our property. That doesn't make any sense. So we want to eliminate that and eliminate the need for it. So that's it for 2025. We want to finish the remodel. We got the upper garden to work on. We want to get the fence in up there. We're going to definitely do more development out at the lake. We got to get the raised beds put in down here, get the chickens moved into the barn, and the silkies moved down here. We need to plan our water catchment and our greenhouse. We still haven't even talked about that one, but we do want to plan a greenhouse this next year. And we're going to make sure that we shop local. That's a lot to do in 2025.
It is, but I'm going to add one more to your list.
What do you got?
We have been in Kentucky for 3 years now. We have got gorgeous, absolutely stunning scenery around us. In the forests, state parks.
The caves, Mammoth Caves, just
Yes.
down the street from us.
We have never gone, we've got the Ark up in towards
the Ark
Lexington.
Encounter up in Lexington.
And they just put in a new botanical conservatory.
Conservatory there at the
That's
at the
all
Ark.
the biblical plants, and I love plants. And we want to take time, return to life, to go visit these beautiful areas, the Cumberland Falls, around us, to get away and relax. And so we want to do that this year. With fuel being as high as it was, we really did limit our travel when we first got here. And because everything else that was going on, we didn't go out in public a lot. But we do want to go out and start enjoying the world around us. This is absolutely beautiful scenery.
It makes no sense to live in a beautiful state like Kentucky and not take advantage of it. So we want to get out and start enjoying some of that. That's a great return to life. Thank you for reminding me of that.
So we are going to do that.
We're definitely going to spend some more time doing that. That's a pretty full slate, though.
It is.
Now, we didn't finish everything in 24, did we?
No.
You sad about that?
No.
Not upset at all? Are you?
No.
No. Yeah, we planned for this. It's something that we intend. So we know that off of this list, and of course probably 2 more pages full of stuff that we think we want to get done, but just off of this list, we're not going to finish everything. We're not going to get to it all. The reason we like to have this many projects on the table at any one time is because we like to be happy. One of the things that I've learned from psychologists over the last few years is that we don't find happiness at a goal. You don't finish the project and reach your goal to be happy. The happiness comes on the way to the goal. It's when you're making progress towards the goal. Even if you never get to the goal, the happiness comes from the progress down the path. If we've got 15 projects going at one time, and we can't, for whatever reason, say weather's too bad, work on 14 of those projects, we've still got one. One project that we can work on to make progress toward our goal.
Oh, I can come up with lots.
Right, there's always more projects to work on. But the whole point is to always have a very full list of things that you're working on, things that you're excited about accomplishing, so that you can take even 5 or 10 minutes to make a phone call, look something up on the web, and that moves you down the pathway towards accomplishing that goal. And that's where happiness comes from. It's on the pathway to the goal. It's not when you accomplish it. So I think probably the project we need to pay a little more attention to here today is this puzzle. Otherwise, it's never going to get put together.
Holy cow.
This
is going to be a challenge, you guys.
Folks, I think we're going to turn the camera off at this point and get busy putting this puzzle together.
Yes.
We do appreciate you joining us on the Return Homestead today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, if you wouldn't mind, please just take a moment to open up that window and hit the subscribe button. While you've got the window open, hit the thumbs up icon. That lets the algorithm know you enjoyed the video, and they'll share it out with more people. and we'll be more effective at encouraging people to return to the land, return to labor, and return to life. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
So I think probably the project we need to pay a little more attention to here today is this puzzle. Otherwise, it's never going to get put together.
Holy cow.
This
This
one's
is
gonna be fun.
going to be a challenge, you guys.
Folks, I think we're going to turn the camera off at this point and get busy putting this puzzle together.
Yes.
We do appreciate you joining us on the Return Homestead today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, if you wouldn't mind, please just take a moment to open up that window and hit the subscribe button. While you've got the window open, hit the thumbs up icon. That lets the algorithm know you enjoyed the video and they'll share it out with more people. And we'll be more effective at encouraging people to return to the land, return to labor, and return to life. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.